Wow. And it wasn't like Alisson had a worldie and made all these amazing saves and Barcelona were knocking down the door every moment. Roma deserved this.
Oh, I don't think there's any question about it. And, you know, going back to the first leg, it was obviously a much closer game than the 4-1 scoreline suggested. I think this is a game where Valverde got everything wrong, where Roma got everything right, and where Messi and Suarez really made no impact whatsoever. And, you know, Messi's allowed an off night time and again. I think what would concern me is where's the supporting cast? Where are the other people who are going to step up and make a difference? Should Dembele have been on the pitch sooner? There's no question Valverde on this night was thoroughly outcoached by Di Francesco, who changed the game, went to a back three, did all sorts of things that Valverde had no answer for.
This is unbelievable, Steve.
Yeah, I'm absolutely with Gab. You can look at the players and say, you know, they have to be responsible for turning up. But let me tell you, when you're the coach of a team and you have such a big lead, the only thing you have to get right is to make sure that when they step on the field, that you've got them motivated and in a frame of mind where they start the game well, take advantage, and you don't have these situations. That is 100% down to the coach. Because in a game like this, that's the only thing he should be making sure happens.
You take a look at it, Shaq, and obviously we talked there about the Barca game against PSG last year, Depor against Milan. This eclipses both of those, doesn't it? Because Roma were given no chance, and they shouldn't have been given a chance because of the quality of this Barcelona side.
I think the big difference between certainly this game and the one 12 months ago between Barcelona and PSG is that from beginning to end, Roma deserve this. Now, you could look at Barcelona's comeback against PSG and talk about the last 10 minutes and what should have been and shouldn't have been. Should have been a foul, and we could go on and on. But this, with Roma, from minute one, this is a team that knew they had nothing to lose and played like it, and then got the game by the scruff of the neck and just totally dominated and fully deserved. Barcelona didn't have a sniff. You're right to point out Alisson didn't have anything to do. Lionel Messi stood over a couple of free kicks, didn't do a whole lot with those. Largely untested, the Alisson between the sticks for Roma. Fully deserved, you have to say.
If we were to do one of our painted combined 11s ahead of this game, I don't think any Roma player would get into that 11. You've got Lionel Messi as well. How does this happen?
Well, I think again, Roma have to be at the best. They have to start well. They have to get the goal, which they did, and they have to have somebody. You know, we're always talking about Messi. He's the game changer.
Sure.
No question who the game changer is today. Edin Dzeko.
Yeah.
He was absolutely man-mountain. Titi and PK had no idea how to handle him. They couldn't handle him physically. They couldn't pick him up when he was making his runs. And, of course, you've got to finish. And, my goodness, his finishing was there today.
Gab, on a scale of 1 to 10, where does this rate?
Well, you know, let's not forget, Roma did play a European Cup final a few years ago.
Well, that was, what, 1984?
Well, no, if you're talking...
Gab, I played in that.
Gab is trying to be
Gab, I was in that game.
Gab is trying to be all modest here, right?
Don't downplay this.
Never mind that. When the game's going on, Gab is going crazy on the sofas in the green room. Now all of a sudden you're trying to be all calm.
No, but
you can't be cool about this.
I think because of what you saw in the first leg, because Di Francesco was brave in the second half, making changes, playing Patrick Schick, who's, let's face it, has been kind of a dud this season. You know, so you have another big option coming in from the wing to take some of the pressure off. Dzeko, he made a lot of moves that, you know, could have really blown up in his face, and he did that after first 90 minutes when Roma, you know, were certainly not 3 goals worse off than Barcelona. So you put those things together, and it's tremendous. I mean, I would argue probably one of the greatest nights, if not the greatest night in Roma's European history.
There we are. We got there in the end.
That's Gab's version of it was a 10. It's a 10.
How come they're so good at home? You know, you look at their record in the Champions League is phenomenal, especially even if you compare it to domestically.
That's one of those mysteries. I mean, they haven't actually conceded a goal at home, and some of those, you know, they haven't always played well at home. Atletico Madrid, they were really lucky. Alisson, and by the way, can we end this? Alisson is one of the top 3 or 4 goalkeepers in the world, and there's a reason he's ahead of Edison. Sorry, City fans. for the time being anyway. Ederson can be number 1A. But I think in the Champions League, he prepares for games better. We saw him, I think, outcoach Antonio Conte as well in the group stage. I think what happens is in Europe, you play more teams that try to play with the ball more and will come at you more. A lot of teams have gone to Rome this year, sat back and hit them on the counter and hurt them. Maybe that explains it.
Meanwhile, from a Barcelona point of view,
Disaster.
huge disaster.
Absolute disaster. We've been sitting talking all year how they haven't played well. So the fact they didn't play well in this game is not a huge surprise. But the fact they never turned up, the fact they weren't competitive, because all those games they've had all season when they managed to win is because as much as they weren't brilliant, they were competitive. This is the first time since Valverde's got there that the team has turned up and just hasn't been competitive.
You know, I'll give you a stat, or two things for me stand out about Valverde. One is he played Semedo at right back again, with Sergio Roberto further forward. Same thing he did in the first half, when clearly, despite the fact that they won, it wasn't working. The other thing is, Roma go to 2-0, and he still doesn't make any changes. He waited for Di Francesco to make changes before he made changes. I don't understand that. You're at 2-0. You're 2-0 down. You're one goal away from going out. You're playing horrendously. Do something.
We've given Barcelona a lot of credit under Valverde this season in the way in which they're a different type of team, but just as effective. Were we a little bit too quick to jump the gun on them? Were they not maybe as good as we thought?
Listen, I still think this is a very good Barcelona team. Let's not take that away from them. This result doesn't change what we've seen and what they've done all season long.
But is the problem is if Messi has a bad day, everything goes wrong?
Yes, that is quite clear. And not just Messi having a bad day and you asking other people to step up and they didn't. I think in many respects, Roma didn't allow them to step up. How many times, every time Barcelona get the ball, Roma press high up the park. If you get by, we foul. Maybe it could have cost Fazio more daily, as you mentioned, but that was happening time and time again. And you could almost hear Barcelona fans screaming about how physical Roma were, kept foul. I don't care. That's what Roma need to do. Step in. Don't let you find that rhythm. Don't let you dictate the pace of this game. Now, Barcelona had 55% possession, or more than Roma, but a whole lot less than what you are used to seeing Barcelona have. So they don't allow Barcelona to play their game. Messi is a little bit less than superhuman, and all of a sudden, this is the result you have. And I think this is more credit to Roma than it is a criticism of Barcelona.
And virtually all that possession for Barcelona came at the end, because, I mean, the graphic flashed up on screen at one point, I think it was around minute 60. Roma, it was 52-48 to Roma. Now, if you want to underscore how Valverde has changed Barcelona, not necessarily for the worse, but in a game like this, when you're 2-0 up, you've got players who can keep the ball. This wouldn't have happened under Luis Enrique or Tata Martino, or certainly not Pep. They would have said, you know what, we're going to defend our lead, we're going to make the pitch big, we're going to make you come after us, we're going to make you foul us, and we're going to be patient. They couldn't do that. You know, they ended up with 55% because everything came at the very end when Roma were just sitting back and defending.
This obviously takes the win massively out of what was, up to now, a really successful season for Barcelona. La Liga and Copa del Rey. But this, how do we assess it? Is it a success?
I mean, let's see what happens in the Copa del Rey final as well, and what happens in the Clásico too, because, look, Barcelona are going to win the league, but, I mean, I think this is stuff that's going to weigh into how Valverde is judged. And the warning signs were there. We've said they haven't played well in a while. I go back to this. I wrote this on the website. Those two legs over Chelsea, you know, they got through because Messi stood on his head again, did something unbelievable, and Chelsea made massive individual errors, and many of them. But otherwise, you know, it could have taken a different turn. For whatever reason, this two-legged format, Valverde's, you know, he's had two bites at the cherry, and he got it wrong both times.
Look, if you'd asked this question in August, that you win the league and you get to a quarterfinal of the Champions League, Barcelona fans and Valverde would have taken that.
But then, obviously, you throw in, you're 4-0, you're 4-1 up going into the second leg again.
And you go out to Roma.
The narrative changes because you see Real Madrid struggle first half of the season. You've won the league by Christmas, and you have a dominating position going into the second leg of this quarterfinal. But as much as we may criticize Barcelona, let's remember where we started, what the discussion was in August. happy with how things have went, disappointed with the Champions League, but all in all, you take it, given, as I say, where you started.
Barcelona had one of the most memorable games in the history of the Champions League last year. Unfortunately for them, that's getting pushed to the side. Now it's going to be, OK, you won that game, but this game, you collapsed. And people are going to remember that.
And when we were sat here after that game, we ripped into PSG, absolutely murdered them. We seem to be giving Barca more of a pass.
I'm not so sure we are. I think simply because all we've said on this show is that we know they're not as good as we would like them to be or have been. And PSG, we were talking about the team that's now going to take over. They're going to go ahead of Barca. Because they've signed Neymar, they're going to go ahead of Real Madrid. This was a narrative going into that last season. This is a completely different animal.
But having said all of that, when we had a conversation on Sunday who would win the Champions League, you went for Barcelona. The expectations were still high.
Why wouldn't you, though? This is a team who have just got it done consistently. So there was no reason for us to try and be clever and say, oh, there's no way they're going to win it. You know, they're going to collapse. There's no way they're going to be able to hold on to a 4-1 lead. I mean, you couldn't do it. Unless you get a crystal ball, you couldn't do that.
But that is why this is surely such an epic collapse.
Yeah, it really is because, I mean, look, they became favourites going into the draw, partly because Juventus were playing Real Madrid and because Manchester City were playing Liverpool. So even ahead of this, they became favourites. But you know what? If you watch them play, and weirdly, you know, after Dembele came back and after they signed Coutinho, I argue both in La Liga and certainly in Europe, they haven't hit the heights that they hit in the first part of the season. You go back to the Clásico before Christmas. That was one of the, maybe not the only game they played really well, but it was one of the last games where we really saw them firing on all cylinders. And, you know, I'm sorry, Iniesta's getting older. Suarez, I thought tonight, didn't show up at all other than rolling around for 3 minutes at one point. You know, Messi needs a supporting cast. You know, everybody needs a supporting cast.
You take a look at it, and it's not good reading for Barcelona fans because this is the third consecutive season in which they've been knocked out at the quarter-final stage of the Champions League.